Okay, so again, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mr. Sweeney from the counseling office, one of the academic counselors. And presenting this morning is Miss Chips. I'll let her take it away.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for joining us here. I would say it's nice to see you all, but I can't see you the way that we have this set up. So I certainly look forward to seeing you hopefully sometime in the future. If you have any questions, you can email me. My email's down there at the bottom, and it'll show up again at the end of the slideshow as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to go through some of the goal and the mission of this health science STEM academic pathway. We're going to talk a little bit about the target students, some unique aspects of having a career tech ed pathway. It's a little bit different than some of the other academic programs. I'll go through a sample course sequence, and then we'll have some time for some questions and answers. So, the goal of the health science STEM academic pathway really is to prepare students for careers in the health sciences general, but specifically in biology, biotechnology, applied chemistry, and health sciences. Our mission is really to root all of our classes in culturally responsive teaching and meeting the needs of all learners. The teachers in the program are are they have a strong desire to commit to professional development and learning about diversity within STEM and health science fields in order to prepare all students within health science and to the students themselves also be aware of diversity within health science. So our target students at the moment are students with a 2.0 to 3.0 GPA in academic core classes who are interested in health science careers. So students can enter the program as a ninth grader or as a 10th grader. If students are entering in grade 9, they have to be concurrently enrolled in Algebra 1 in the fall. Students in the grade 10 would be concurrently enrolled in geometry. And while we're still starting the program, we'll have students enrolling in grade 11, but eventually our goal is really to get students in during grade 9, which is why we're talking to all of you eighth grade parents. Entering ninth graders with a grade of D or fail in eighth grade math have to get a minimum score of 225 on the NWEA. So our goal is really to be trying to support students who maybe might traditionally struggle in science careers or might not be aware of science careers. We really want to support those students. And those are really our target students. But they do have to meet a particular minimum for math so that they're not taking on too much. So the nice thing about the CTE pathway, so CTE stands for Career Technical Education. In a career technical education pathway like this one, students actually have to be a part of a student association. So there's a student organization called HOSA, Health Occupations Student Association. It's part club, part team. It's part of the curriculum and it's extracurricular. And what that means essentially is in the classes themselves, you as a teacher are responsible for incorporating some of these health occupation activities. And what that means is teamwork is important, collaboration is important, the idea of setting deadlines, having responsibilities, creating a leadership structure, and then maintaining that leadership structure, talking about how to work well within in group dynamics is actually built into the curriculum. And what that does is it builds in a support network. Um, and the HOSA itself is an ability for students. They really want it to be an ability for students to develop their leadership skills, so much so that they have every year they have a big conference in the spring, and then in the fall they have smaller regional conferences. And at these conferences, you build your skills, you make connections. So that CTE pathway is really one of the strongest parts about this academic pathway because it builds in that support and that kind of dynamic where it's not just focused on the traditional curriculum. It's a little bit also focused on being there to support each other, which is nice. So I'm going to go through the course sequences now and go through what a ninth grade would look like, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. Some of this is a little bit in flux as we're starting the program and creating it. So ideally in ninth grade, students would take English 9, Algebra 1, Biology, and either exploring medical careers or exploring computer science as their local option. Then CP World Language and a physical education course. So those ones in green would be the pathway specific courses, and the pathway teachers would be teaching those courses. And those teachers will work together, they'll collaborate. We'd have professional development specifically for those teachers to try to support students in those courses because these might be courses that students would typically struggle with otherwise. And we want to find ways to support them within the context of healthcare careers. Right now, the current ninth graders are taking exploring computer science, but our goal is to create a more medical based ninth grade option that is rooted in culturally responsive learning practices. And so ideally, students next year entering the program will take exploring medical careers, but their secondary option might be to take exploring computer science. In 10th grade, I'm really excited because this will be the class that one of the classes I'm going to be teaching. And that's going to be CP Geometry, CP Applied Chemistry and Biotechnology, AP Computer Science Principles, and then their non-pathway courses are English, world language, world history, and PE has to be taken over the summer. That is one important requirement. I'll be teaching the applied chemistry and biotechnology course. I am actually a neuroscientist by training. So I did 8 years of lab work, all about the brain and understanding how cells communicate in the brain. So I'm really interested in biotechnology, but I teach chemistry because I think chemistry is fascinating to teach. And my goal is always to try to teach applied chemistry, which is why this course is so exciting for me. And I'll talk a little bit about some labs in a little bit, so you get a sense of what that means, applied chemistry and biotechnology. 11th grade year is another really exciting year for me. So the students will take English 11, then they'll take this nanoscience class, which is new to our school, and it's very exciting. It's actually not very common across the state of California to be offering this nanoscience class. Students will also take Algebra 2, Physics, and then US History and World Language. So the nanoscience course and nanotechnology is really going down to a very small scale and to see what are the like really recent advances in science that we're using to treat diseases, to diagnose diseases, really understanding kind of cutting edge science. I want students to be reading uh, kind of articles that are very current, that are, again, representing a wide variety of the healthcare field, but still focused on biotechnology. So it is technically still a biotechnology pathway. So we're always going to root that health science within biotechnology and chemistry, which I'm passionate about. 12th grade is going to be a little unique. And 12th grade, our goal is eventually to actually get students to get some college credit within that 12th grade year, whether that comes through AP statistics or CP statistics and actual college classes. That still remains to be seen. So at the moment, students are scheduled to take CP stats in their 12th grade year and an advanced medical research course. There'll be 2 periods of this because our ultimate goal is that 4 years from now, students in this pathway program would be taking an actual college course to get biotechnology credit. There are several courses, some at Mission College in particular. We'd love to be able to get them that college credit while in their senior year. If that doesn't happen, then at the moment we have planned an advanced medical research section that will prepare them to immediately go into careers in medical research, and concurrently they'll go hopefully go on to college and earn a biotechnology lab certificate or get a degree in biotechnology. So our goal is to give them a wide variety of options in 12th grade year, but that's 4 years from now, so we're building up to it at the moment. So I did want to talk a little bit about what the student outcomes really would be. So, students that complete the 4-year health science STEM pathway will meet all of their A through G requirements to go to UC or Cal State, and they'll be completing a CTE pathway, which they can say if they want to apply directly for jobs, they can say, I was participating in this CTE pathway. I was a strong member of the Health Occupation Student Association. The nice thing about the Health Occupation Student Association is they can go to the yearly conference and compete at the yearly conference. And even though it's a competition, really it's a chance to hone their skills, and they'll be able to write that on their resume. So the goal of the CTE pathway really is to create these resumes for students that make them immediately career and college ready. So they could go straight into a career in the health science, biotechnology pathway, or they can go to college and expand upon what they've already learned. So they can actually do both. I wanted to give you a couple of examples of labs that use nanotechnology and biotechnology because I know these are terms that before I started learning about them, I was like, what is nanotechnology? I didn't even know. That sounds so overwhelming to me. But it's actually really approachable and very doable in the hands of high school students. These are actually 4 labs that I've done with my juniors and seniors. So it's definitely an accomplishable mission for us. The first is glucose biosensors. And glucose biosensors is a lab that we actually do in that applied chemistry and biotechnology class. It fits in the chemistry section when we talk about kinetics and rates of reaction because you end up using an enzyme, and enzymes speed up the rate of a chemical reaction. And that gets done in the sophomore year. And what the students do is they do the laboratory and then they come up with a product that they're going to market about sucrose biosensors. In another lab, they use biotechnology to make lactose-free milk for individuals who are lactose intolerant. That's also during sophomore year, and that one is more about bonding and chemical properties, but it also again comes into kinetics. Um, the third lab is the antimicrobial properties of silver nanoparticles, and that'll be in the nanotechnology course, which they do in their junior year. And that one's super exciting to me because that one and the next one, we've actually had, I'm sorry, I have a 3-year-old and I don't know if you can hear her, but she's asking me to put something on the phone for her. And the antimicrobial properties of silver nanoparticles that we do in junior year is really all about using silver nanoparticles to kill bacteria and to kill viruses, which ties into the next lab, which is using silver nanoparticles to detect bacteria. So these two in particular, we've had the last 2 years, we've had students go to the UCLA Nanovation competition and present devices that will use the silver nanoparticles in both these ways. And we've been really successful. And we've actually sent a couple of students to work in UCLA labs to learn more about silver nanoparticles. And that I would like to keep continuing. I'd like the students to, in their junior year, do the labs in the fall so that in the spring they can come up with their own innovation using nanoparticles, either silver nanoparticles or gold nanoparticles. There's a wide variety of options. So in that junior year project, they're going to be either writing grants or creating presentations for this type of competition, which is really exciting. So, okay, I went through the slides really fast, but at this point we can definitely open it up to some questions and answers. I think we have a couple of questions already. So let's.
I answered a few of the questions
Okay.
in the chat during the presentation, but there are a few new ones that would probably be better if you handled them.
Okay, perfect. So is it the students in the health science pathway join HOSA?
There was that one, and another question that came up was, will there be any research or shadowing opportunities for students in the program?
Great. Okay. So I'll try to tackle the shadowing one first, and then I'll go with the ones that are on my screen. So research and shadowing opportunities, definitely. That's actually one of the really crucial aspects of CTE Pathways. CTE Pathways want students to get involved in authentic experiences. Our goal is certainly to build that up and to increase the amount of students that we have doing those types of experiences. When we hit the ground running, they might not be able to do it their freshman year. We might have to wait till they're in sophomore, junior year and start to build some more local relationships. But my goal is actually to provide those opportunities on campus as well. Because I know that sometimes, for instance, the student that's been working at UCLA, driving to UCLA can be difficult for some students. Getting access to go to these labs is not always easy. So I am trying to create opportunities on campus for them to do that as well. And that kind of ties into the idea of, can students who are not in the high school pathway or the health science pathway join HOSA? You can't actually join HOSA, and that's a rule from the Health Occupation Student Association. They require that you be in a pathway in order to be part of that association. But I do run science team as well after school. So if your student is interested in this, but can't necessarily join the pathway, or doesn't want to necessarily join the pathway, wants to just do a little bit less science, but still wants to do some science, they can certainly email me and we can talk about what science team can offer them, because I try to have multiple entry points for students within the program, and give them opportunities. So can we access the slideshow somewhere? Yes, I'll make sure that it gets to Gina Corpus to get put into that Google Drive folder that I think you have access to. Yeah, we'll definitely get you access to this. My student is currently taking geometry. Will she be able to take AP physics, and on what basis will be done? Okay, so I think that's actually potentially a counselor question, because in our program, you wouldn't have taken geometry prior to our program. So you'd take geometry as a sophomore in the program. Um, Ideally, you'd be coming in taking Algebra 1. So uh, that's a good question, but I don't know if I can quite answer it.
Any placement issues? We'll be starting our meetings in January for new incoming students. So we would review that at that time. But if they're already at that level in math, that would probably be something they could consider as a ninth grade class. But we would review that in the meetings in January.
Great, thanks. My son is interested in zoology. Would this program be best for him? I can't say that what would be best or not best, but I can definitely say that if you're interested in zoology, the health science pathway will give you an opportunity to um, address those interests. HOSA, even though it's Health Occupation Student Association, which sounds like healthcare, health science, human, there actually is some emphasis on animal science, and we can support that in some way. So as long as your son meets all of the other requirements for the CTE pathway, absolutely this program will support that interest. So in terms of what interest do you have to have within the health science pathway? Any interest in health science, we will support it. We emphasize biotechnology because that's what the courses are, but it's biotechnology in service of some other field, right? So I tend to emphasize biotechnology and chemistry, biotechnology and environmental science. But if the students are interested in zoology, then that's the lovely part about the Health Occupation Student Association, is it's student led and student driven. So that's why I'm so passionate about this pathway, is that it really isn't all about us teachers, because it's a CTE, career technical education pathway, that requires the student input through that student association. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. A rising sophomore joining the program would definitely want to talk to their counselor, because they would want to take my applied chemistry and biotechnology program or class as a sophomore next year. It's currently not being offered this year, but that was partly because everything went a little crazy this summer, I'm sure, as all of you can imagine. So our original plans were to run it this year, but we weren't able to do that with all of the shutdowns and things that happened out of our control. So a rising sophomore, definitely talk to your counselor and check in on what's going to be offered next year.
So we're going to have to close in about 30 seconds. So I think we had one last
Perfect.
question and then we'll have to close up.
Okay, real quick, I can answer two. Is this program at iGranada? It's not at iGranada. My student is also interested in band. I don't think it's too much to have band, but it depends on what their schedule allows, because I don't know if band can be 0 period. So that's again a counselor question to look
Mhm.
at scheduling. So, and remember, if you have any more questions, please email me. My email should be up on the screen, and I would love to answer them and to discuss more.
Okay, thanks, everyone. We're going to end this session because we have to start the next one in about 2 minutes. So thanks for joining us this morning and have a good rest of the day.
Thank
Thank you.